Marcus stared at his dashboard display as the bright blue line on his navigation map snapped into a dead end. Outside his windshield, the high beams of his delivery van cut through a wall of freezing November rain, illuminating a rotting two-story farmhouse sitting in the middle of overgrown weeds. He had shifted into reverse and driven 3 miles back to the state highway over 20 minutes ago. Yet somehow, after taking 2 left turns toward the interstate, the voice from his phone chimed once again with that flat metallic prompt. Destination reached. On your left. The engine coughed once and died. Then, somewhere inside the pitch-black house, a bell began to ring. To understand why Marcus refuses to switch on a digital navigation map to this day, we have to go back to 6 o'clock that same evening. Marcus was a 34-year-old courier delivering rush medical parcels and private legal documents across rural Pennsylvania. It was steady, unglamorous work that relied entirely on punctuality and a reliable GPS app. The weather that night was miserable, filled with low fog and persistent sleet blowing across 2-lane back roads. He had 4 drop-offs remaining on his manifest, all scattered across small farming communities, separated by miles of unlit timberland. His route seemed entirely routine until he entered the turnoff near Blackwood County. His third delivery was a sealed envelope intended for an attorney office in the town of Mercer. Marcus plugged the address into his primary navigation app and pulled out of the gas station. 5 minutes down State Route 402, the voice on his phone interrupted his podcast. Rerouting, it said smoothly. Make an immediate U-turn onto Old Mill Lane. Marcus glanced at the screen. The blue route line had erased his direct path along the paved highway and drawn a sharp zigzag onto a narrow, unpaved logging road. He assumed it was a standard algorithm error caused by spotty cell service, so he ignored the prompt and kept his foot on the gas. But the app refused to recalibrate. Every 10 seconds, the screen flashed red and issued the same automated command, demanding he turn back toward Old Mill Lane. Annoyed by the repeating tone, Marcus pulled onto the shoulder to manually reset the destination. The moment he tapped the screen, the display froze entirely. The glowing cursor spun in circles before locking onto an isolated property 3 miles off his route. The screen displayed a house number that was not on his manifest. Outside his window, the fog had thickened into a heavy gray wall. Feeling an odd knot of unease in his stomach, he decided to turn around just to clear the system glitch. The gravel lane was barely wide enough for his vehicle, choked on both sides by tangled thorns and leafless oaks. At the end of the track stood the property. It was a weather-beaten 2-story farmhouse with collapsed porch steps and shattered glass sticking out of the window frames like jagged teeth. The phone chimed loudly inside the quiet cab. Destination on your left. Marcus checked his paper manifest. Mercer was still 12 miles away. Realizing the device had pulled him to a completely dead location, he put the van in reverse, backed out onto the main road, and drove 5 miles in the opposite direction to force a fresh signal recalculation. 10 minutes later, he was cruising at 40 miles per hour down the paved county highway. Suddenly, his dashboard screen flickered violently, cycling through static lines before showing the map again. Rerouting, the speaker announced. Marcus watched in disbelief as the map screen spun around, forcing his arrow icon down another dark offshoot. He slammed on his brakes and stepped out into the damp chill to inspect his phone antenna. The air smelled thick of wet rust and decaying leaves. He looked down the dirt lane where he had stopped. Standing at the end of the trees, illuminated by his red brake lights, was the exact same sagging farmhouse he had left behind miles ago. Marcus felt a cold trickle of sweat drop down his neck. There was no physical way he could have looped back. He had driven in a straight line away from that gravel road for over 10 minutes. Desperate for answers, he stared at the dark house. That was when he noticed a pale yellow light glowing softly from a lamp in the upstairs window, despite the lack of electric wires running to the roof. If you are enjoying this disturbing account, please hit the like button and subscribe to help the channel grow. As Marcus watched, a tall shadow shifted slowly behind the dusty lace curtain, looking straight down at his van. The phone on his dashboard lit up without him touching it. A synthetic voice, colder and slower than the normal navigation prompt, spoke through his van speakers. "You have arrived. Please bring the box inside." Marcus scrambled back into the driver's seat and slammed the door shut. He locked the doors with shaking hands and reached for his gear shift. The van engine sputtered, coughing heavily as if choked for air. In the reflection of his side mirror, he noticed something resting on his passenger seat that had not been there when he started his shift. It was a heavy brown cardboard package sealed with thick gray tape. Marcus reached out with a trembling hand to check the shipping label pasted on the top of the box. The paper was fresh and damp to the touch. Printed in bold black ink was his own full name, along with his home address. Beneath his name was a printed delivery time, stamped 20 minutes into the future. Before he could process what he was looking at, 3 dull thuds echoed through the floorboards of his van, coming from directly underneath his driver's seat. It sounded like someone knocking firmly on the steel undercarriage from the gravel below. He did not look under the vehicle. He stomped on the accelerator and forced the transmission to engage. Tires spinning wildly on the wet mud, the van launched forward onto the paved road. Marcus did not look back in his rear-view mirror, even as his headlights caught glimpses of white wooden fence posts blurring past in the darkness. On his dashboard, the phone screen was flashing rapidly between pure black and a solid bright red tone, endlessly repeating 3 words over the speakers. Recalculating route. Recalculating route. He drove 40 miles without stopping, ignoring red lights and speed limits until the towering blue signs of a state police barracks finally appeared through the driving rain. He pulled into the brightly lit gravel lot and collapsed against his steering wheel. 2 state troopers came out to inspect his van after hearing his frantic story. When they checked the passenger seat, the strange parcel with his name on it had completely vanished, leaving only a damp square patch on the upholstery where it had rested. The troopers agreed to file an official report and send a cruiser out to investigate the coordinates Marcus provided. 3 weeks later, Marcus received a phone call from one of the investigating officers. What the deputy revealed over the line made his blood run cold. The county real estate records showed that the old farmhouse on Old Mill Lane had been completely demolished 12 years prior. According to official township files, nothing stood on that overgrown plot of land except buried stone foundations and thick brush. Yet Marcus had seen the porch, felt the gravel under his tires, and watched a silhouette moving behind an illuminated second-story window. To this day, no one can explain how his modern cellular network repeatedly routed him to a non-existent structure, or whose hands placed that wet package on his seat. Marcus quit his career job the following morning. Today, he refuses to own a smartphone or drive at night. In his car, he carries only paper road atlases, meticulously planning every turn long before his engine ever starts. Sometimes, late at night when the rain hits his bedroom window, Marcus hears a soft electronic chime from the dark hallway, as if a forgotten device is whispering for him to turn around. Some roads are marked on maps, but others seem to be waiting for someone to get lost enough to find them. If you have ever experienced an unexplainable encounter on an empty road, share your story in the comments below. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more strange and mysterious accounts. Until next time, stay safe out there in the dark, and always double-check where your route is taking you.